Hi, I'm Julie Haymaker, and I'm doing a series of Shrinkets and working in the color wheel with each individual color. So this is more of an intensive in learning color. The first in this series was dealing individually with the primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. And primary colors are colors that cannot be created. And that's why they're called primary. But primary colors, when mixed together, can create all the colors in the spectrum between the primaries. This range, and this range. And then they can create neutrals. So the next in our series is going to be dealing, since we've already done the primaries, we're going to be dealing with the secondary colors, and there's 3 secondary colors. These are orange, violet, and green, and they're secondary because there's the primary red and yellow, and orange is in the center of that. Then we have yellow and blue, and green is in the center of that spectrum. Then we have blue and red, and violet is in the center of that. The color we're going to focus on in this lesson is orange, the secondary color orange. And I've chosen to use colored pencils to represent this tutorial. And I'm not going to tell you what colors I'm using. I happen to be using the Holbein brand, but you can use any brand you want. And what I want you to do is, when selecting your colors, practice. I want you to practice your visuals of picking colors that match these colors when we're working with them on the color wheel. So you must have a color wheel to do this. These tutorials and to really learn color well. So we are focusing on orange today. Orange is our secondary color. So next I want to talk about, when I was dealing with the primary colors, I talked about cool ranges and warm ranges within those colors, and we practiced with that. Now with our secondary colors, we are going to be dealing with what is on the left and what is on the right side of this secondary color. And we're going to choose colors that represent yellow-orange and red-orange, with our main color being orange. And I'm picking 2 in the red-orange and 2 in the yellow-orange and 1 orange. These colors technically are called analogous colors. You do not need to know all the terms I'm throwing out. I'm just giving them to you. Just think of this as I'm working on these 2 colors that are left and right with it. And the red-orange is made when we mix orange and red together, and the yellow-orange is made when we mix yellow and orange together. And that's how the color wheel works. The colors on either side of anything, except, we can't make primaries. Remember, we can't make primaries. Those are our starter colors. Okay, those are our God colors. We can't make them. We use them to mix other colors. So orange is made by mixing red and yellow, and I've chosen these colors to represent the colors that I'm using on the color wheel. Now, we're also going to be using in this demo our complement, and it is blue, right across from the color wheel. The complement is right across. That means, complement means that these 2 colors look really well together. They bring out the best nature in each other. They're like a couple. They bring out the best in each other. When they're used within a design, it's really pleasing. But when they're mixed together, blended together like a cake mix, they will make a neutral. A lot of people refer to this as mud, and I will be showcasing that. Making mud with it. Or I call it a neutral or a brown. So let's start with just showing you what I've selected. I've got a representation of orange here, And then I'm using the yellow orange here. This is rather bit of a hue, a pastel, and then more of a value in the orange range. Those are my colors that are represented right there. That's represented right there. And then I'm representing these two colors right here. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using. That's as close as I can get to them. And then I'm going to make my hue. I mean, my brown, my mud. And I do it by mixing colors together. I'm shading and building up. Shading my complement and my main color together. This is the same brown we made when we did this same exercise with blue. The more orange I have it, the more warmer brown, the more blue in it, the more cooler brown. And this is the color that I've picked, colored pencil that comes closest to it. Now understand, when using the colored pencils, it's not paint, so I can't mix exactly that color. The exercises make it easy, and that's why we're using colored pencils. So I just want you to get as close as you can to it. Because we can't use paints on Shrinkets, and this is about using these colors on Shrinkets. So, and you could do the same thing with pastels if you had a nice selection of pastels. Okay, now, next I'm going to take these and I'm going to show you shading. So I'm picking my orange and I'm sharpening it, and I'm going to show you shading techniques. Shading is twirling. Notice I'm twirling my hand. I'm not going up and down like this. I'm twirling. Twirling will give it the best overall range. You can do a crosshatch on it. Most beginners will shade up and down and they get more of a scratchier line look. It's kind of hard for me to even get that because I've shaded for so long. It is difficult to get that beginner's look. Anyhow, this little chart will help you. And I'll show you. We're going to do a nice light range, twirling, a little heavier with our pencil. Number 2, up to a number 3 where we're going heavier. Number 4, we're going even heavier. At this point, I'm having to go back and forth over it several times to get it to that value. The value meaning the purest color of it. And there I'm at number 6, the purest value of it. Hue, value, light to dark. Just think light to dark. Now we're going to do an ombre effect. And I'm going to start with a broad range in number 1 shading of my basic orange. And then I'm going to overlap my yellow oranges into each other. My eye will tell me how much pigment to put down, how intense to get. Blending that all, making it nice and nice transition. And we have this nice ombre look. There it is in its pale pastel, and there it is in its value or intense color. So let's go on to creating these, using these colors on our Shrinkets. So we're ready to begin, and on this larger piece, I'm going to be using these colors on this side of the spectrum. My reds and oranges and my orange, and then a complement of blue, and then the neutral. I'm going to do shading. Doing my twirling motion, moving my piece so that I'm getting kind of a cross-hatching effect, and that will disguise my line marks if any happen. And this is very good to do if you're a beginner, because you may end up getting looks more like that, look like this. And if you move your piece and go over it and shade it in different directions, that'll help camouflage that, blend that in. Then I'm going to come in with some shading up here. Getting heavier at my tip and lighter, heavier at my tip, and lighter, heavier at my tip. And gonna come around here with a border on this. Getting a nice broad tip on my pencil so I get a nice wide line. Whoops. It's hard to erase on colored pencil, but you can with the right erasers. Just you can't get it totally off, but you can get enough off that you can continue on your way. I'm going to come in here with little brown dots. And I am going to pull over here from this range because I just feel this is a large piece and it needs it. A little bit of blue, because it's just the complement. And I'm coming in with this. I think I need to clean that up a bit. And that's all I'm gonna do with this piece. Now I'm gonna come over to this piece, and it's going to be predominantly these colors, and I may add a little bit of this like I did with the yellow on this, the yellow orange. Yellow orange. There's yellow over here, this is yellow orange. Remember on these pieces that mainly we're trying our best to make them feel more orange than any color. Not dominantly red orange or not dominantly yellow orange. So I'm remembering to bring in that central orange color. This is a large area I'm covering. I want to get really pure in here, so I'm going to come in, just where I'm gonna come in with my red orange and overlap that in the center. And then I'm gonna use my finger to smear that. Pressing down to my finger gets really hot, and I'm going to show you how beautifully the colored pencils blend. See how beautiful that blends? Now, let's come in here and we're going to outline with a hue of the red orange. Hue being the pastel version of it. Lighter toned down version of the intensity, the value. It's a red orange in this. And then I'm going to come in with orange here, which is our true orange. And a few little dots out here in our complement. If I go in over this with my blue, what will happen? I'll start to get the brown, and I don't want to do that on this. You can see how it starts to happen just where I overlap it a little bit, but if I get it in here where it's really intense, it will go brown on me. I showed you what happens right there. So I'm right out here to the perimeter and just a tiny overlap. I'm not going to use any brown on that. Okay. Now I've got my third piece. And what I'm going to do with my third piece is come in with dots. And I'm using my yellow orange. And then I'm going to use my orange, and I'm outlining around this so I protect those colors. when I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. I'm coming in with the pure value of this, number 6. So heavy, heavy shading technique. Lots of pressure, but twirling motion. I'm not going like this. It's that's mainly what people do. Twirl. Circular motions, twirl. And then I'm going at this at another angle. And there, I'm going to examine what I have. And I think what I'd like to do is to do some shading in here. So I'm at my 1 value with this. There we go. Now we're ready to shrink down. So for this piece that I'm designing with this orange, with our orange secondary color, I'm going to use my, this is the large, not the extra large, but this is the large domed mold. Now I have to decide whether I want to see shiny or matte. And I think I'm going to go for shiny. And I'm going to heat this, starting out at the edges, each petal. Get it shrinking. Keeping my heat out towards the edges. Keeping it out. That keeping my heat out to the edges keeps it from the petals from touching. And there is a flaw in this bead, and I chose to use it anyhow. The bead had cracked right here, and I was hoping that in heating it, I would be able to push that crack together. Maybe it wouldn't fuse, but it would form together. Now it's done shrinking, but I'm getting it nice and warm, not melting it. I'm going to drop my bead down on this because what I'm creating is a bead cage. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. Hoping that's cool enough because it's a large bead and I want to make sure it's cool, and I'm checking where my crack was. I barely see it, so I'm safe. That isn't a piece I would sell or give as a gift, but it's okay if I'm demoing. Now I'm gonna do this piece, and I just want to showcase that up close. There's my crack. But it's protected behind this, and in assembly it's going to be just fine. So that helps answer questions. Does the plastic fuse? No, it doesn't, but it can come together as a blunt joint. that joint will be weak. If it cracked all the way through, I couldn't use it. So this one here, I'm using the fluted spacer bead mold. It doesn't matter what I put up or down because it's the same on both sides, and I'm heating around the perimeter. Normally I want you to go straight down with your heat gun, but I go to the side so you can see it shrink. Keeping around the perimeter. Coming down, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. And this is our bead. And next we're going to do our little leaf bead, and these can be done in a bowl or they can be done like so. This keeps it from blowing around. And then I'm just coming in here and twisting and holding. There we go. And we have our secondary orange colors that I wanted predominantly in the orange range with a bit of red orange and a bit of yellow orange. And I achieved that. So next I'm going to assemble this into a pendant. So I'm ready to start assembling, and I'm going to start at the bottom and go up, and I have some Irish 2-ply waxed linen. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a jump ring. And I've got a nice bronze jump ring, and that is going to be representational of the neutral in this. And I've added a little charm to my collection to complement this little guy. And when I close this jump ring, I want to make sure it's real, there's no gap at all in that connection. So I'm going to squeeze really tightly here. Making sure there's no gap for this string to slip through. Got quite a bit of waxed linen here, so I'm going to cut that down. Twirl it, give myself a nice element to thread with. Going through double here, and I think I wanted that at the top. I think I made a mistake and started the wrong direction. It was a tiny hole to try to get through. And I'm going to cut my tips because they're uneven and a bit frayed. There, nice and clean. And then I twirl to bring the wax together on those. because I'm going to really need it for going through this, because I'm threading down through that hole. Finding that hole. There I am. Did that with minimal problems. A little blue. So, but blue is my accent, my complement. So I'm mainly using orange as my main color on this, because this is about the secondary color orange. Oh, sorry about this, guys. I forgot to put my lovely Shrinkit bead on. I wanted that right there. I'm going to cut this again. Give yourself enough, if you're working with it in this fashion, to keep getting yourself a crisp end to work with. And the whole purpose of these exercises that I'm doing is, well, not the whole purpose. One of the purposes is showing that even if you're just working in one color range and the complement, you can get a real variety in that. I tend to see that people shy away from that. They'll see something as red, and then they get the red pencil out, and then they'll get a blue pencil out or a green pencil, and that'll be it. And very rarely do they risk using a lot of those cools and warms and analogous colors to the left and right of that color wheel within their range. And this is a wonderful way to educate yourself to, I've got a clog in that, and so I loved that bead, but I am going to, well, maybe I can clean it out. When I used it the first time, I got a little bit of wax to linen in it there, some wax. This is the challenge for you to practice really understanding that color and how many, its values, its hues, its ranges from warms to cools, from, you know, its varying analogous colors to the left and right, where it goes to the next spectrum. Come on, little guy, I really want to use you. I really want to use you, and I'm being very stubborn that I want to use you. Whoa, I'm so happy. I got it through. So here I am, and what I'm gonna do is, you can put this on anything you want, but to keep in our feeling, I'm gonna come in here. With a red orange ribbon, that I'll use for the necklace. Beauty of waxed linen is when you knot it, it stays. It stays. So I'm going to cut those short. And then put a knot over the top of that to cover up my knot. And I have my orange piece. Thanks.